People are spending more time on streaming and social content, right? YouTube just surpassed Disney as well as Netflix. So it gives you an idea. People are attracted to bespoke content that's authentically made by other people, as well as AI-generated content. There is no longer a monopoly, right? The public decides.
Run it up.
Welcome back to Brands in Play, your podcast for everything immersive marketing. I'm Nick Hill, co-founder and chief innovation officer at Sawhorse.
And I'm Val Vacante. This week in the news, Epic lays off a fourth of its staff. Roblox new controversial ad policy. Minecraft opens a theme park in London, and Pokémon GO goes from Pikachu to pizza delivery.
Then, for our real-time review, we're taking you to the location-based VR experience Excurio in Austin.
And later, we're joined by Charlie Fink, XR pioneer, author, host of the AI XR podcast, and one of the earliest voices shaping the Metaverse conversation.
That's right, and if you're enjoying Brands in Play, make sure to subscribe and follow. Every week, we break down how brands, platforms, and creators operate inside of UGC gaming and immersive media.
Let's get into it.
Let's go.
Run it up.
Val, what's up? How's your week?
My week's great. It's very, very quiet here in Austin, post South by Southwest. But in terms of announcements for the week, keeping the community going here in Austin, I did want to share April 27th. So for any of you in town, check it out. It's going to be a wide array of industry leaders digging into the rising cost, shifting player expectations, and what comes next for monetization and retention.
That sounds awesome. I'm a big fan of what GamesBeat has been doing in the space for a while, so that sounds like a cool meetup. And on my side, just happy to be not at a conference and just back in my house and in the office working, which is good. And yeah, excited from the Sawhorse side. We were just nominated and shortlisted for 3 Shorty Awards for One Battle After Another and Sinners on Fortnite. And of course, that was with our partner, Warner Brothers. So fingers crossed that we take home some gold on that one.
Fingers crossed, and I'm so excited for you guys because you've been award after award after award. So, I'm sure something will come from the Shorty. So good luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And it's a very cool award, too. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's basically like a whale tail. And every year they kind of change it. So it's actually, from a visual standpoint, those trophies are pretty dope. So we'll see. But let's keep moving. Let's jump to the news. All right. So lots happened this week. There's so much to report on. I think I'll start with the elephant in the room, which is this new Roblox ad policy that was announced publicly. And it's super interesting because it's controversial. It's sent shockwaves through the creator community. And everything will officially be rolling out on January of next year. And what they're focusing on is Roblox will take a portion of revenue from its in-game brand deals across the board. So in the past, developers were able to strike their own branded deals that were outside of what Roblox had any visibility into. And then now Roblox is trying to come in and turn that more into a partnership. And from the Roblox POV, they're basically saying that this is an advertising overhaul designed to attract more brand dollars to the platform and increase creator earnings. And so in the near-term changes, and this is happening actually in May, creators will be required to register all brand campaigns in Roblox's ad manager and also apply new standardized advertising labels inside of Studio itself. I can break it down a little bit. There's basically 3 layers here. First is it's a new definition of what an ad is on the platform. And this is in parallel with this concept of safety and transparency. This is what's rolling out in May, which I think is actually good, is basically it's saying that content will now be classified as an ad if it involves compensation from a brand to feature within a creator's experience or if it promotes off-platform products. So no more gray area. This is different than running a billboard or a commercial inside of a person's game. This is when you do like a branded deal where you maybe reskin something that's inside of that game. In the past, it has been unclear whether that's an ad. They're saying that that 100% is an ad and it needs to be documented as such. The second thing is mandatory registration and labels. So this is where creators must register all paid brand integrations with Roblox before campaigns go live. And so that's like submitting assets for moderation and clearly labeling sponsored content um, visibly in both the experience and on the game page. So no more of, stepping into one of these games and wondering like, oh, is that an ad? Is it not? It is just right clearly up front. And then this is the third thing is the revenue share, which is this is what a lot of the developers are concerned about. And until now, Roblox has allowed creators and agencies to sign independent advertising deals and publish branded content without paying any additional fees to the platform. And starting early next year in January, Roblox is going to be taking a cut. And the exact percentage and how that works has not been publicly announced, but they are finalizing it with creators over the next few months. Have you thought about this at all?
So I have thought about it. It's interesting because I've actually developed programs, integrations in Roblox. And, we had a great relationship working with our partner who negotiated the deals with the developer. It gave us a lot of flexibility. It was interesting because we did not get support from Roblox, much support from Roblox, because they did not consider it as advertising or marketing.
Right.
So on the if I think all of this makes sense, it gives some regulation to it. The however is, I really hope Roblox genuinely support these experiences, whether it be through promotion, through partnership, and really helping celebrate these type of things. If it is considered advertising,
Yeah.
um,
I mean, I think it's a good signal in a way because it's showing that Roblox is taking this advertising on the platform so seriously and wanting to formalize it, and sort of standardize it, which is a sign that, that is moving in the right direction. But let's talk about it for a second, just from the POV of the creators and the
yeah,
POV of the brands. And I think for the POV of the creators, obviously they don't want any additional fees. They're already giving 30 to
correct.
60% of, all in-game purchases to the platform. So this is another fee that they're going to have to deal with. And then I think one argument that's interesting is they're drawing that comparison to other UGC platforms like YouTube, for instance. When a YouTuber does a branded deal with Nike to do some product placement inside of their video or some sort of talking about a brand or something, YouTube does not take a cut of that. So this is kind of a new way of sort of dealing with brands in a UGC space, and I think that's what has bumped people in the community. Thoughts
Yeah,
on that?
yeah, thoughts, certainly. I mean, I think, all of these different platforms, are constantly taking, I know everybody's gotta get paid. Get it. Right?
Yeah.
But like continuously cutting from creators, there's it's creative work. It takes thought, it takes
Yeah.
an audience. And so I really would not like to see more cuts from creators. But if there's a strategic way also to make it easy for brands to buy, knowing they'll get support promotion from Roblox, knowing the creators are going to get paid, and knowing there are
Yeah.
those consistencies. To your point of like the gray area, I mean, certainly in some of the work I've done, we had numerous discussions on is that gray area or not. So it's good that there's no gray area anymore.
Yeah. Well, look, you just basically kind of like touched on the positive side of this. It could be an ecosystem that everybody benefits from, and it's very transparent and it's very standardized. That's the perfect world scenario. Will we get there? Not quite sure. And how brands can benefit at this point is like it's better transparency. They can scale this. There's no gray area. Roblox is, attached to every single one of these. So there's some pros there. And I think just leaving the last note on this is that I think that the ad tech product that Roblox has rolled out as far as like running billboards and videos across games Clearly, that is not working on its own. So that's why they need to go outside of the box and try to find different ways of monetizing the brand engagement. And, in their defense, I'll just point out that Roblox is free to use and free to build on, and that costs a lot of money. And Roblox has to turn a profit. So, if this type of stuff is inevitable, my question is this the best path to monetizing and growth? Time will tell. What do you got next?
So what I have next is taking IP IRL. So we've seen this ongoing trend over the years, really embracing fandom. And the big story here is Minecraft World opening in London in 2027.
Nice.
Um, yeah, so I'm really excited. Minecraft is opening Minecraft World and Chessington World of Adventures in London. This was made during Minecraft Live, confirming, a major new chapter of the franchise. We've seen a ton over the years. Obviously, there's the game, there's the merch, there's the movie that had the big success.
Mhm.
And so now taking it IRL is super interesting. Mojang Studios, they partnered with Merlin Entertainments to bring the experience IRL into the theme park world. The goal's really to translate the game core elements that you know and love IRL into the physical space. So it's very exciting. We're going to see guests are going to be able to explore areas inspired by those biomes, the textures, the in-game environments. And the park's going to include the first ever Minecraft roller coaster. So, like, super, super interesting to see how that's going to develop. But it's really designed to reflect, the feeling and movement through the Minecraft world. Of course, there's going to be food and bev. Their menus really inspired by the game, in-game food and materials. So that'll be interesting to see. Visitors will also have the opportunities to meet mobs, interact with the characters, and discover details that really reward those longtime fans. Mojang confirmed they like actually brought creators into the process. So kind of building, pun intended, on the creator play. They are bringing them into the process to help solve some of those complex design challenges. And one of the biggest quotes from the story here is that Mojang stated, this is truly an epic collaboration between Mojang Studios and Merlin Entertainments. But we also recruited creators to help with some of the trickier challenges. So I think this is really nice that, as we've, talked about on the show, is that the importance of bringing your community into the mix and the design. And this is just a great example of that. Sounds super fun. Like, I would love to check this out and just really see how the gameplay pans out IRL. What do you think, Nick?
I think it's cool. I mean, it reminds me of Super Mario Land at Universal, which is just down the street from me here in Studio City. I've been there a couple times with my kids, and it's awesome. It's like immersive. It's fun. You step into the game world, and it feels psychologically, just different and interesting. And then you leverage different like immersive technologies to even take that further for the user. So yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of this stuff, especially for massive IPs that you have these huge built-in audiences. Like, give them a physical, real-world place to go to. So it makes sense for Minecraft. But moving on to my next story, unfortunately, it's a sad one. Epic lays off 20% of its workforce. So Epic Games, the company behind Fortnite, announced that it's cutting over 1,000 jobs. This just happened, and the CEO Tim Sweeney said that the downturn in Fortnite engagement that started back in 25 means that they're spending more money than they're making. And so these layoffs are coming from the Fortnite side, not the Unreal Engine side. We know that Epic also makes Unreal Engine. It's a 3D engine used for broader gaming and the entertainment industry. I think that is still kicking. I think on the Fortnite side is where they really kind of scaled back that staff. And in addition to the staff cut, they're also planning on a $500 million in savings through reduced contracting and marketing spend, which means that they're going to be doing maybe less partnerships and less marketing around the sort of the game itself. And it's interesting because this news comes around the same time that they increased the price of the V-Bucks, which is Fortnite's in-game currency. So now basically saying it's higher cost to run the game, so those are also going up. So the combination of all this is tricky. And so what does this mean for UEFN and the sort of branded island side? From my perspective, I feel like this means that the teams that were in place on Fortnite are doing less content curation, less partnerships, and less licensing work because they were like kicking ass for the past couple years, bringing in the top of pop culture in. And I feel like if that
Yep.
team is getting slashed a bit, I wonder if they're still going to produce that level of quality and pop culture partnerships. So I'm wondering, like, does that create an opportunity for the creator community on the UEFN island side to bring more brands in? Because if they're not getting deals through Epic directly, maybe that's going more of the direction of the brands. And it comes at another interesting time because we know that Disney has invested $1.5 billion in Fortnite. They basically went all in. And also this
Mhm.
week, they released the Star Wars asset pack for creators all across UEFN. So creators can now build their own worlds leveraging the Star Wars IP. And I think my last thought is that are they moving in a direction more like a Roblox? Because you look at Roblox,
Mhm.
right, and they don't produce anything. They just
Mhm.
make the platform. They're not creating any sort of curated games for the community. They just make one of the best scalable UGC gaming platforms in the world. Is this an indicator that Fortnite might be trying to focus more on UEFN and less on the Fortnite game itself? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I don't know either. It's so interesting. I mean, I'm curious to see what's gonna happen with Star Wars and that IP and creators. I mean, I kinda see it as a test bed at the moment, right? We'll see what happens with Star Wars and the creators. Is that the avid like, are more IP gonna be doing that? That could happen.
Right.
Another one could be, as you said, with the brand builds, like, maybe that's the only way that you connect with your brands and fandom are,
Through the
through creative
UEFN side.
mode.
Yeah.
Correct. So,
I
I'm
mean, it's
very
still
curious to see.
yeah, like, I know, the size of the platform has been, shrinking a little bit, but it's still a massive platform to engage with a ton of, massive audience, and also the ability to spin up a game quickly and create that connection with your audience, so it's still, like, a pretty awesome platform. But what do you got next on your story?
Hey, okay, the next one, I'm really excited about this story. So it's Pokemon Go brings Pikachu to pizza delivery. Is Pikachu delivering pizza to your door directly? No, it's not what the story's about. Um, but what it's about, it's really exciting, is that when Pokemon Go launched back in 2016, I can't believe it's been a decade, but it has. But when it launched back in 2016, as we know, it was a global phenomenon. Like everybody's like, oh, I got to download it. I got to play. I got to catch Squirtle, what have you, right? And people were scanning, right? Scanning murals, scanning different areas, storefronts, parks, what have you, and capturing all the different angles, the weather, all of that with Pokemon Go. Now, one of the things that happened is that Niantic, who created Pokemon Go, so they're using all of that data, scans from fans all around the world. And here's where the story gets really interesting. So Niantic used those anonymous scans to build a visual positioning system, or VPS. And what that is, it's a hyper accurate map of all the real world. So everything that's happening all in the real world. Um, and that can actually locate a robot in seconds. And by 2026, that data set has grown to more than 30 billion images and contributed to 143 million players. That's a lot of images and a lot of players. Um, and really, with all of that data, that's where the robots come in. Um, Niantic partnered with Coco Robotics. You've probably seen them. They're the sidewalk sort of delivery
Yes,
robots. They look
I
really
love them.
cute.
Yeah.
They're in LA. Yes, of course. Um, so they're in LA, Chicago, Miami, Helsinki. But these robots, they're now navigating by using Pokemon Go that's trained VPS. So they're trained on Pokemon Go. So again, Pikachu not delivering to you directly, the robots are, but they're using all of that data. And big data in really great ways. And as we know, the robots are delivering not only pizza, but groceries and all of those bits and pieces. But there have and Niantic CEO, he really captured the moment perfectly. And, his quote was like, getting Pikachu to run around the world and getting a robot to navigate it safely, it's actually, the same problem. So, why does this matter for brands? So, this is really important for brands because it shows what happens when fan behaviors, right? So, like Pokemon Go, you scan, fans are scanning and getting rewarded for that information, but how those behaviors can train the next generation of intelligent systems.
Yeah, no, it's smart. And I got one of those delivery robots the other day and it worked seamlessly. And it's crazy how like the personification of technology, like it had a name, it had a little cute eyes, and I felt like I had to respect it or help it in some way. It just works. Very, very fun, but I'm glad to see that. Awesome. Well, let's keep it moving. Let's go to real time review. Awesome. So for this week on Real Time Review, we're talking about Excurio. It's a location-based free roaming VR experience, and it's all built around cultural and historical themes. Basically, think museum meets IMAX meets theme park, all inside of a VR headset. And so this company partners with academic institutions and entertainment IP holders to build all of these custom VR location-based experiences. And right now there's 25 venues in over 10 countries, and they have big plans to expand a ton of new locations as well. Val and I were in Austin, so they have a location there. We went to it. And what's interesting about this is that they can run multiple experiences all at the same time with no set schedule. So basically, you can show up at any time you want, select the experience that you want, and go in and experience that with your friends. You don't have to, not like a movie theater that says, like, oh, at 12 o'clock, this one is running. So there's huge scalability potential there. The average runtime of the experience is 45 minutes. So you can kind of think of it as like an immersive sort of interactive movie that you would go to that is 45 minutes. The target audience is really interesting. It's broad. These are designed for all ages. So you're talking about young kids, middle-aged people, and even like seniors. And if you look at the visuals of people that are in there doing this, people of all ages. The price of the ticket is around $35 to $45 per adult, with discounts for kids and seniors, which is a decent price. And as far as the user journey, essentially you go in, you buy your tickets from the kiosk, you select your avatar, you select what experience you want, then you walk over to the side, you hand your ticket to somebody, they get you fitted with a headset. You're there with your group of friends, and then you walk into this huge open space, this big white room that has random people standing around with headsets. And it looks a little silly, but once you actually are participating in it, you are basically transported to a totally immersive, interactive world. You are on your own trip, which is super exciting. The experience that we decided to do was the Horizon of Khufu, and that basically is all about ancient Egypt from 4,500 years ago. And when you kind of like walk into this world, you're kind of like at the start of a pyramid, like the base in today's time, and then you're talking to this NPC Egyptologist, this character that is basically walking you through the experience. She like brings you into the temple, and you walk in with your friends, and then she's giving you information about these ancient pyramids. And so you're exploring that pyramid and you're also exploring broader Egyptian culture, which is really cool. It's educational. Was this a good experience? I'll tell you the good that I liked was immersion is extremely high. This when you walk in, you feel like you're there. The quality is good. The sound design is fantastic. You actually feel like you're there. One example is there's a moment where you have to duck in a little hole and sort of like go down a corridor, and you feel like you have to do that with your body, and you feel like you're just so connected with the space. But what I really liked about it was how social it was. This is a communal experience. You go there with your friends. You can go solo if you want, or you go with your friends, and you're all in there together experiencing it at the same time. And that's one of the issues I have with VR in general is right now it's kind of like an isolationary activity. Like especially with my family, like I've got kids and a wife, and I'm here. Like if I put my headset on, I go away. Doesn't really make sense. But if that is a shared experience, then it's something that can get more scale. And these location based are all shared experiences. The bad, I'll say, is that I did get some headset fatigue toward the end. So 45 minutes of having this on my face. Toward the end, I got a little fatigue. I gotta flag that. I also thought that the storytelling itself is on rails with a lack of interactivity. So it is immersive and you feel like you're on this ride, but there isn't a lot of like creativity to kind of expand the story. You can't deviate. You have to kind of stick within the story. So I think that's an area that could be improved over time as technology improves. And I felt like the NPC was not dynamic enough. Again, that NPC was on rails. There's also a guide, which is a cat that has supernatural powers that also gives you a tour. That cat is cool. But I'll say that in both instances, those NPCs are not making eye contact with you, and they're just on one path of one script. So I feel like that's an area that needs to be improved. I definitely think with AI coming into the more of these experiences that they build, they'll be able to add these layers of interactivity that currently aren't in there, especially on this experience that we did. And is it innovative? Absolutely. I think that the location-based VR space is growing, and we see a lot of indications of that, so I'm excited to see it. More experiences are coming from Excurio over the next year. More brand IP is coming in. So I'm really curious to see how this medium evolves and how that company evolves.
Completely agree. And then also on a positive note, what I did appreciate is that they did design for everyone. So if there was a person in your party who is in a wheelchair, they did design for that. So I thought that sort of accessibility aspect was really important.
True.
I think the price point was nice as well compared to other competitors. I'm not going to name any names, but compared to some of the competitors on the market, you're looking at a $75 price point for, say, a 15, 20-minute experience. So much longer experience, much lower price point. I did have the fatigue as well, though. So I did feel like it was a little too long. But all in all, really great.
Yeah, I agreed, and definitely recommend people to try this out if they have not done it. And I think what I would like to do is I would love to bring my kids and my father-in-law and my mom. I want to bring in people of
Yeah.
all a group of all ages and go do this because those two groups have not really done much in VR like I have. So I would love to bring them together. I definitely recommend that our listeners go check it out.
Absolutely.
All right, what's up next?
So next, we are having our interview with Charlie Fink.
Awesome. Let's go.
Please join me in welcoming Charlie Fink, one of the most influential storytellers and technologists shaping the future of AI, XR, and immersive media. Charlie covers AI and XR for Forbes and co-hosts the AI XR podcast. He's the author of 2 landmark books on the metaverse and spatial computing, and he teaches emerging media at Chapman University and Arizona State University. His 40-year career spans Disney, where he conceived the idea for The Lion King, to pioneering early VR, virtual world entertainment, to leading creative innovation at AOL Studios. Today, he's exploring the next wave of AI, native storytelling, as the co-founder of Animate AI Studio with director Rob Minkoff. Charlie, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, thanks for joining us.
So, Charlie, before we dive in, Can you share a little bit about your role? You are like a renaissance man. You do so many different things. So tell us like what you're working on, what you're up to, and all the various roles you have.
Yeah, I'm an old guy who makes up jobs for himself. So I have like 5 jobs. As you mentioned, I continue to write for Forbes. I've been doing that for 10 years. It is great to be associated with the Forbes brand. And that certainly has made a lot possible for me, including writing 2 books. The books were special because they were AR-enabled books. So you read them with your phone in your hand, and they've got animation in them and video and all sorts of things that a two-dimensional book could never really have. Aside from writing and teaching, I have a consulting practice. Um, I am, as you mentioned, working on some vertical streaming series made with AI. One I'm doing with Rob, another I'm doing on my own. It's called the Neighborhood Podcast, and it's an AI generated soap opera about a murder of a podcast host.
Okay.
So, so of course, I continue to do a lot in immersive media. It's part of my beat at Forbes. I'm very passionate about VR. Of course, we're going through another kind of VR winter here. That might be worth talking about. I mean, VR has not become the thing we all hoped it would be, and there are good reasons for that. Um, and of course, everybody's curiosity has been drawn to AI, as has mine. If you want to stay relevant today, you better be talking about AI.
Can I do a follow-up question really quickly about VR? You've seen the changes and waves of VR in the past. It's kind of done this, pretty consistently. Then obviously during the pandemic with Meta rebranding itself, acquiring Oculus, going all in. We're all in our homes. Everyone's going to adopt it. Everyone at Meta is going to work in a headset. None of that happened. I guess from my perspective, just being in the space for about 5 years, I just see it continuing to do this sort of dip. Do you think that's the plan? Or do you think it could somehow grow bigger than that?
I don't know if it's going to grow bigger. It's a legitimate kind of technology for entertainment and training and simulation that's not going away. Uh, the first VR winter happened in 2017, 18, and to a certain amount in 19 until the Oculus Quest was released. There was a big buildup to the release of the first Oculus headset. And of course, it was a PC VR headset. There wasn't a lot of content. It's technically difficult for consumers to get into PC VR. There's external trackers. And so when people finally realized what VR was about in 2016, it crashed, right? And all the investment that had been around the excitement of the acquisition of Oculus kind of faded away. Then the Quest came out, and the Quest had tremendous pickup at first, right? There was all this pent-up demand for the Quest, and then the pandemic hit right after it and shot it through the roof, right? Used Quest headsets were going for $800 on eBay, right? Because VR is a great way to be together if we have to be apart. And if we have another pandemic, VR will be back because that is a really, really great application of the technology. But the truth is, we were all saying as the pandemic ended, well, when the headset is lighter, when it can do this, when it can do that, it'll explode. It'll become like the Nintendo Switch or maybe even the PlayStation. Well, it is all those things. And that didn't happen because, and as a student said to me, and somebody very passionate about VR said, I have too many appointments with other screens. So in a environment like this, with so much going on with social media, with AI, with everything that is going on in the world, people are just not that interested right now. There is a niche of gamers, a niche of people who are in VR chat and socializing in it and using it in the way we did during the pandemic, but it's a small group of people.
Right.
And it has not captured the imagination of the public at large. I think it was interrupted by AI. That's part of the reason, but it's not the only reason. So I think we're going to see VR continue to grow very slowly out of the spotlight. I think it will have a moment again in the future during the next pandemic or whenever we need to be apart but want to be together. But it's not going to be a game platform like the Switch or like the PlayStation. We were wrong about that. I'm disappointed, but I have turned my attentions to other things because we do live in a moment of accelerated change and lots of different platforms and lots of things happening socially, economically, and politically that make my interest in VR seem very small by comparison. So, yes, I think we are going to be going up and down, but I think now we're going to see kind of quiet, slow growth out of the spotlight. It's a niche technology. It's a great technology, but there aren't that many people who are interested in it.
One of the things you had talked about before, Charlie, was really like there was this, as you said, this sort of standstill for whatever was VR, but how AI is going to unlock that. So
One of
love
the
to hear more about
Yeah,
that.
well, one of the difficulties with VR, it's very hard to make content, right? And I teach that. And game engines are really, really hard tools to make content with, and you really have to use them every day to be good at it. And that is a commitment that most artists, particularly students, but most artists generally are not going to make, right? It's very, very hard technology. The introduction of AI is going to provide a layer of convenience and access to those tools that we have never had before. So I am optimistic that my students at Arizona State, for example, will be able to do much more with much less. And they won't need to be finding a programmer necessarily to help them build their levels or their 3D worlds. They'll be able to do that themselves with AI agents and with hand holding from language models like Claude.
Well, how does that impact the broader entertainment industry? Like you just referenced like how it's easier, it's lowering the barrier to entry for students to like come in and make stuff, democratizing, right? But let's talk about the broader entertainment industry. How is it being impacted? How should they leverage it? What are your thoughts on that?
Gosh, well, as we mentioned at the top of the podcast, I am working on a vertical series for social media that is made with AI. I've got the Neighborhood podcast that is my personal project, as well as the project that I'm working on with Rob. And we have a big star involved, Maddie Ziegler from Dance Moms. And, she's a girl race car driver. And that is a very, very commercial project. And it is going to look like a big animated project, even though it's made with AI. Whereas the Neighborhood podcast is a little bit grittier, it's live action, but it's made entirely with AI. So there are a couple things going on here. Um, First of all, the studios used to have a huge moat around the entertainment industry that prevented people from making content. They had a monopoly not only on financing and distribution, but on the means of production, which were all extremely expensive. So you needed big permission to make content, right? That's no longer true. The other thing that's happened is that the traditional distribution platforms, when I moved to Hollywood in the mid 80s, after I got out of the Art Institute of Chicago, um, Hollywood was defined as being 5 studios and 3 television networks. And if you wanted to make anything of substance, you had to get permission from one of them.
Right. And they had to finance it essentially.
Yeah, they had to finance it. So today, of course, all of that moat for distribution and production is now gone, right? There aren't 3 TV networks who decides who's going to be a star. The public decides who's going to be a star on social media. So you have a confluence of a few things, right? People are spending more time on streaming and social content, right? YouTube just surpassed Disney as well as Netflix. So it gives you an idea. People are attracted to bespoke content, content that's authentically made by other people, as well as AI generated content. There is no longer a monopoly, right? The public decides.
So one of the things we talked on earlier was the metaverse, and I know you got big questions.
Yeah. So I mean, like, let's just like talk about it broadly, right?
Well, my first book was called Metaverse. So
Charlie Fink's Metaverse, right? So basically, I think Zuckerberg kind of destroyed the word for all of us, unfortunately, right? How have you seen the metaverse change over time since the beginning? Obviously, we know Snow Crash and Ready Player One, like it was this big vision.
of course, in Ready Player One, it was called the Oasis, not the Metaverse.
Exactly, right. So it was Snow Crash that coined the term specifically, but it doesn't exist. It's never existed. We haven't got anywhere near it. I would say that maybe Roblox is one of the best examples.
You are 100% correct about that.
Well, I'm curious, okay, how have you seen that kind of path? How far are we off to getting to it? And how should brands be thinking about it right now?
Well, you brought up Roblox, and my students are having a midterm next week. And one of the things in the midterm is what is the metaverse? And the metaverse is 3D connected virtual worlds. So Roblox is very much a metaverse. Fortnite Creative, very much a metaverse. And in fact, on Minecraft is a metaverse. Now, there is a school of thought that all these metaverses will be connected somehow.
Interoperability.
Interoperability. That is not personally to me that important, right? I don't think somebody from World of Warcraft needs to bring all of their assets from World of Warcraft with them into Roblox.
Right.
The other obstacle to having this one big metaverse is that China and the West don't have the same internet.
Right.
And the Eastern internet, the Russian internet, is controlled by the government and highly censored. So you're not going to have one Uber metaverse unless you define the metaverse so broadly that you're just saying that telecommunications infrastructure in the world is the metaverse. And certainly if Matthew Ball were here, that would be his perspective, right? That there is this Uber connectivity.
Yeah. It's how you define it.
Which is, yes, so it's how you define it. But from a practical standpoint, I don't think in my lifetime these things are going to be connected. But this idea of being with people remotely in a social 3D artificial world is a very valid concept. It's compelling. I've spent hundreds of hours doing that. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great thing. But again, I have appointments with other screens now and other technologies now.
But going back to this concept, what should brands do? You've seen brands rush in at different times, right, for their headlines that they get. But like, how should they think about it right now?
Brands should do what they always do, which is think about the audience. Where is the audience? How do you get their attention? There's so much competition for people's attention. Marketers know you have to be where the people are. You rush around from behind them to get in front of them once you see where people are going. And if the people are on Roblox, brands should be on Roblox. And by the way, Roblox is an unusual opportunity for brands to create worlds and relationships that 2D media, on 2D media that are not possible. So I do think there's a lot going on in gaming. It has grown exponentially in the past 20 years to surpass Hollywood.
150 million monthly active users on Roblox.
Yeah. And so part of it, of course, has been mobile, has been part of that, right? As people have gotten tab games with them all the time. 50% of those users are on mobile and they're playing casual games.
Well, and it's interesting with that. We actually, some of the work that I did, part of it is that evaluation process, right? Like, do you build an entire world, or do you go where your players and audience are? And if it's a brand that people maybe don't know about, it's like, are you going to drop $1 million to build a world and then pay media to drive them there? And oh, by the way, what is this brand?
That's right.
Whereas like in that case, hey, go where your consumers are, pop up in the games that they already know and love, reward them with, the power-ups in those games and get them coming back.
Well, that's obviously exactly what marketers have done in media since the beginning.
No matter what the media are.
Find the audience, find the platform, and be there.
That's it.
But you said something very interesting about community and sort of like a new opportunity for brands to engage with audiences in ways they never could before. And I think that's one thing that brands miss when they look at these spaces is like, oh, I'm going to spend all this money and do a marketing activation. It's like, well, you can kind of build something persistent and you can have an always on communication with that community and kind of build brand loyalty and love in a way that they kind of do on social media. But a lot of brands are not thinking that long-term investment in how they engage with these audiences.
The thing is, a brand is not an entertainment company. A brand is not going to make a hit game.
Not yet.
Look at what's happening with that revolution in Hollywood right now. It's like with marketing, all the brand dollars are shifting into entertainment, branded content. They are becoming entertainment.
That has to do with social.
Yeah. And video entertainment.
Yeah. And again, it is very, very hard to tell a story whether that people are interested in. Whether you're making it with AI, whether you're making it in Hollywood, whether you're doing it, an influencer is doing it on social media, it is hard.
Good story that people want to watch and engage with.
And so I think that the mission of brands is to identify that and be there for the people when they get there and be associated with that, because creating it, as Val just pointed out, you could create it, but are they going to show up? Who knows? So not only do you have to spend money creating it, but now you have to spend money driving people to what you created. And it's much more efficient to find something that people are already doing and get in front of them there.
I completely agree. And like on the community point, it's not just like, hey, we're part of the community. It's like really understanding the community. What is something that the community's missing? Maybe it's a way that they're not connecting with, whether it's an influencer, whether it's whoever.
Well, you mentioned power-ups, which is a fantastic way to organically be integrated into the entertainment without hitting people over the head,
Yeah.
without selling them. You're just there to start to form a relationship with them. And there's a great book. I was actually just talking to somebody from VaynerMedia. I told Val, and one of the things that Gary Vaynerchuk said in his 10-year-old book now, Jab Jab Right Hook, was two things. Number one, you have to groom eyeballs to your presence, and the other thing is, for God's sakes, the days when you're given the hard sell are over.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be of service. You have to have a welcome voice. And then when you have a welcome voice and you are of service, once you've established that kind of brand relationship, yeah, then you can go ask for a sale and have credibility. If the first thing you do is ask for a sale, people are like, who the hell are you? I'm not buying something that an advertiser is selling me. So I think it's a change in attitude. And I think, again, in a world where there's not this media scarcity that we've all grown up with, brands have to view the audience as a relationship and as a community and behave in a way like you would in a community, and not think of that community as something to be advertised to.
Yeah. So we are nearing the end of the show, and
Damn, that went by that.
That's 30 minutes. We can listen to you talk all day, man. But we're at South by. You got places to be.
So as we're wrapping, is there one thing that you want the audience to take away, from the conversation today, but what you're doing? What can you share?
The impact of AI on entertainment, media, and brands is at its very beginning. And
Scary.
right now we have a lot of hype and hysteria. But as it all settles down into reality, we are going to see its impact in social media and in the economy and in our society. And I can't tell you what's going to happen. I think we are at a moment of extreme disruption. But I will say to your listeners and to mine, moments of destruction like this are unprecedented opportunities for brands and companies and individuals today to reinvent themselves
Yes.
and to reestablish those brands in this new context. And it is a tremendous opportunity. And I think it's a challenge for the leading brands. You led in the old world. How do you lead in the new world? And there are going to be a lot of upstart brands that you've never heard of,
That leverage it.
but are good at it
Yeah.
and establish themselves. It's sort of like the way Vice appeared
Yeah.
in the early social media
Yeah.
days. Right now, setting aside everything that's happened with Vice is not a good example for anything. But new brands do emerge
Yes.
at moments of disruption like this. So if I were a big brand, I'd even be thinking about launching new brands and spin-off brands that are more organic and are less associated with the old way of selling one to many.
Well said. Well, Charlie, I could talk to you all day, but we got places to be. We're at South by. Thank you so much for your time. We're fans of your work, and we appreciate you coming on the show.
Appreciate it. Great to see you.
Awesome. I really love talking to Charlie. And the thing that I love the most about talking to some of these OGs in the immersive space is that they're drawing on so much experience that I don't have. You know, like I've only been doing this for a few years, but like having them see all of those waves of VR for a couple decades and this deeper concept of like the metaverse and the way they've been thinking about it and the technology that they've seen applied to it, wins and fails, different waves. I think they offer such, and Charlie especially has such a unique and interesting point of view on it that I really value.
Completely agree. I mean, he is a pioneering powerhouse, right?
Yep.
Everything from exploring what's new to reporting on it to evolving those experiences. I mean, I love that Charlie just doesn't sort of talk about experiences, he's creating them. And
Yep.
and it was just really interesting to hear, like, his take on the state of AI and XR, and really talking about those different gaps. I mean, revisiting the metaverse. I mean, I love this interview with Charlie, and then also how he touched on the AI narrative storytelling and like what he's doing with Animate. I mean, all super incredible.
Yeah.
And then of course, he's got his pod too.
Yep.
Um,
This guy's
so
busy. He's doing a lot of things.
producer, professor, podcaster. I mean, he's doing it all. So I really, really enjoyed this episode. So thanks.
Yeah, that was dope. All right, let's keep it moving. You're up this week. Let's go to hit, miss, and bet.
So my hit this week, it's really that IP to IRL. So I love what Minecraft World is doing. As you touched
Netflix
on,
house.
Netflix house, exactly. We have Pokemon World coming to Universal in Japan next year. So just more of these fandom, IP, IRL. I'm excited. We're gonna see more of them. In terms of the miss, I mean, unfortunately, the layoffs that are happening, we're seeing it, not only with Epic, but also other places in the industry. What I will say is that I did appreciate how Tim Sweeney talked about his staff. He really reassured the community that these layoffs had nothing to do with the phenomenal staff that he had, but everything to do with some of the changes they had to do. And then just, I guess, rounding it out with our bet, the bet is more of these experiences like we saw Pokemon Go, pizza powering those robots. I betting that we're going to see more companies do this. How can we be smarter with the data we have to create more joyful experiences?
And more robots. I'm here for it.
More cute robots, so with personality.
That's fair. Well, that's a wrap on this week. Thank you for joining and listening to another episode of Brands in Play. And what's coming up next week?
So next week, we're joined by Miriam Schuler, SVP of Marketing at Karl Lagerfeld. We're getting into how luxury brands are using Web3, moving beyond that sort of one-off drops and into longer-term thinking around ownership, identity, and how digital products are extending those brand experiences.
That's going to be dope. I'm looking forward to it. And if you're enjoying Brands in Play, make sure to follow the show. Every week, we break down how brands, platforms, and creators operate inside of gaming and immersive media.
Edward, please read us out.
And that was Brands in Play. Thank you for joining the podcast where we explore immersive marketing and the people who are leading it. Co-hosted by Nic and Val Vacante. Our show today was produced and edited by myself, Edu Regiu, alongside our creative producer, Dr. Giovanni Casimiro, and creative director, Ben Caro. Be sure to join us every week for brand new episodes.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views, policies, or positions of host employers. The information shared during this podcast is based on personal experience and publicly available information and is intended for informational purposes only. Any references to specific platforms, companies, or partnerships are made in a personal capacity and do not imply endorsement